on, OBS, do your worst. Right, well, it's start time, isn't it? Hello, everyone. Hello, Dean. You're in charge, really, Dean. You summoned us all here.
George, I asked for help.
Yes, so you have built a starter kit for Umbraco using Bootstrap. Would you just like to give us a quick intro to what you've done?
Yeah, sure. Let's pop this over here. So basically, it is live at unbootstrap.com. Thank you very much, Aaron and Unpost, for hosting this and helping get it all set up. And as you can see, we've actually put special thanks to Unpost at the bottom just for that reason. But basically, for a long time, as soon as I saw Umbraco grid, block grid, I got very excited because with a few discussions with the team who were working on it, we all agreed that wouldn't it be lovely if you could use it with CSS grid? And that's essentially how some of the example sites have been built. So if we take a page like the home page, just running locally here, using Rick's amazing preview, block preview, the editor gets a lovely experience that looks like the page they're editing. And I'm not going to spend long talking about it because I want to save it for another day and I'll demo it properly. But to me, this is what I've wanted for years from Umbraco. This really feels like a strong competitor to the off-the-shelf products. I won't name them, but we know what they are, the cheap and cheerful ones. And, you know, you want to add an image, you click on the image. You want to edit some text, you click on the text. And I absolutely love it. The text that I've added in these pages, I've just jumped into these pages, clicked Bing's ChatGPT thing and said compose an informational blog post, given it a prompt, and lo and behold, at the end of that, you just click add to site and it fills out the fields for you. So I think for starter kit stuff, a combination of modern CSS, AI. Oh, I should add as well, all of these images are AI. This is my representation of Code Garden. So there's the event and the running and the cycling and the Jenga and hitting nails in a log. I just gave prompts to Adobe Firefly and said, you know, what's the typical things that happen at Code Garden, and that's what it came up with. So I'm quite pleased about that as well. So yeah, that's basically it at the moment. But as I say, I think if I save it for another day, just to make it clear what the purpose of this is, it is a starter kit in essence. My ideal situation would be that somebody new to Umbraco can just type .NET new .NET new Bootstrap, and it will install this site on their machine, and they will then be able to go and have a look at all of the views. So say, for example, I don't know, one of the pages with, let's look at the rich text area. I mean, there's not much code to that really, is there? It's all predominantly done in the back office. It's all low code, no code, and again, what we want. So yeah, that's why I'm really happy about it. I mean, that's a Bootstrap slideshow. It's predominantly just Bootstrap code with a few Umbraco variables thrown in. There's some internal links, Bootstrap code with a few Umbraco variables thrown in. It takes minutes to set up, and it's really easy if you want to create your own. I'm just working my way through the ready-made Bootstrap components and adding them to the site.
Great.
So, yep, that's it really. I'm going to shut up now and let you show me how to turn it into a .NET.
Well, just before we do that, I was just going to revisit why we think a .NET template is a better
Oh,
fit than an Umbraco package. Because obviously, up until now, starter kits have always been created as packages that people would then add to their Umbraco instance once they've installed Umbraco. And
so they're quite often difficult to update if it's a NuGet package. For somebody new, they would have to install an Umbraco project on the machine. They'd possibly, I mean, it depends. If they're using Visual Studio Code, obviously that's one way to do it. But if they're a C# developer, but they're not used to Umbraco, and they know their way around Visual Studio, then they may well create a solution and a project and import it from NuGet, and the way that we have done in the past. And then, you know, they'll have a starter kit. How do you update it? How does the person that maintains the starter kit maintain that NuGet package? If they've added other content, won't updating the NuGet package wipe out all the content they've added to the site? All of those considerations need to be taken
and
into account.
I think the whole point of a starter kit is being, here's a starting position, now take it in whatever direction you want to take it in. Whereas usually packages are, here's a working bit of functionality that extends Umbraco, and there is an expectation that that is then the package as it is, and you may update the package, sure, but you're not going to be changing how that package works. It's just take it as is, is usually how it goes. So I think it makes a lot of sense for it to be a .NET template, and I like the idea that you would be able to tell people, install this NuGet template, and then you can do .NET New Bootstrap, and then you've got your site ready to go. The downside of releasing it as a template at the moment is there's no place on the Umbraco marketplace for NuGet templates. It's packages only, but I have raised an issue, number 53, over on the Umbraco Marketplace public issues list, asking what Umbraco thinks about featuring .NET templates for starter kits. And Nathan Wolf has replied saying that he thinks it makes sense. He'll talk to Andy Butland when he's back from holiday next week. But I put in the issue that as and when there is a starter kit released as a template, we'll put a link to it there, because then that would give them something to actually look at and consider how they might go about being able to make it discoverable in the marketplace. Not saying they've promised that they will, but they will at least have a look at it, because that's the main downside is it's not going to be on the marketplace at the moment, even if you put the tag on or whatever, because it's not an actual package. But hopefully that might change. So with that said, I think we need to get on and turn what
Let's
you've
get
done
stuck
here.
in.
And the way that I think about it is, if you wanted to reuse this web product for your, again, the way that I would do it, the old school way, is I'd copy this folder to a new location. I would rename lots of things. I would clear out the connection string, whatever, and it would take quite a long time. But that's in effect what you would want to do, isn't it? If you wanted to reuse this, you're picking it up, copying it, doing some changes, and there is no connection at that point from where you copied it from. And that's exactly what the .NET template is going to give you, because it will copy everything from here to the location that you want it to, and it will do whatever rules you want to specify in terms of regenerating GUIDs that need to be unique, in terms of new port numbers, in terms of the fundamental one of changing the namespaces of the project and everything. So the first thing we need to do is open Windows Explorer and add a folder inside. Where do we want to add it? We want to add it at this point, I think. We need to create a folder called, no, we want to add it inside. Let's just clarify, we want everything apart from unbootstrap.web is here to enable you to work on it and to publish it to GitHub and things. It's just the bootstrap.web project that is what you want to go into the template, isn't it?
I think so.
Yeah.
I don't think you want
yes is the easy answer, Dean, at this point. So just
you know better than yeah. Of course, it is a new. It's a project. Its actually official name is a project template, isn't it? If I remember rightly.
So we want to create the folder inside the
Can I ask questions as we go, Lottie? Would it be okay to create the folder in Visual Studio rather than in Windows Explorer? Because sometimes Visual Studio doesn't recognise you've made a folder.
Visual Studio doesn't care about this at all. This is
okay.
This is all just going to be command line stuff that we're doing now. So,
we'll pop it in here, new folder, yep.
And it needs to have the special name of dev, what brain am I using? Not the right brain, that's the trouble. .templates.config.
All lowercase?
Yeah.
.templates.
And it's
config actually?
Yeah, and it's singular template, not plural. I'm now actually looking at my screen so I can...
That's okay.
Yeah. Okay.
.template.config, yeah.
That's the one. And then inside there, we need to create a file called templates.json.
Okay. So, dot.
Without the dot prefix, or?
Without the dot prefix, thank you. Yes, just template.json.
Template.json?
Yeah, I didn't make these rules. And then I'm going to open the chat for this voice call. And I'm just going to paste in what I think your starting contents of that .json file should be.
The top right for the chat.
Yeah, I've got that, and I think we'll open this in
your text editor of choice, Dean.
Well, I'm just wondering if it appears in Visual Studio, then that might be. And apologies, of course, the phone would ring now.
I wonder what that noise.
There should be one button there. That's the "Don't lie to me" button.
Is there a refresh in this version? I can't remember.
Just one of the buttons should show hidden files. I can't remember.
Do you know what? Let's open it in Visual Studio Code. I think be quicker.
I think there's a show all files option for the project, and that'll show you anything that's not been currently included. And I presume the folder will then appear.
I think you're right, but we don't actually need visuals. We don't need the source project open.
That's cool.
Visual Studio.
There you go.
Yep. So this is like the bare minimum of what your template JSON file needs to be. Now, obviously, I've left you to decide what your author name should be. I've made a few opinionated decisions for you. The main one being suggesting what you might want to call the NuGet project when you release it, because there is already one template from the Umbraco community in the namespace of umbraco.community.templates. So you might want to follow that convention. But this, the author, classifications, name, description, identity is the NuGet package ID. Short name, I thought you might want to use Bootstrap. That's going to be the command. So you've said, I think you pictured being able to do .NET new Bootstrap. It's that short name.
And for versions, do you just add the version like space and then a version number?
No, so for versions, when you want to install a different Umbraco version, you have to install the different version of the template. So the versioning doesn't go in the template.json. That is done separately when you're packaging it for NuGet. Now, I don't think we're going to get to packaging it and putting it on NuGet yet today, just to moderate your expectation. But what we are going to do is have this running locally for you so that you can, that's my objective, is that you will be able to use a locally installed .NET template, because then you may, I'm thinking you're going to want to be able to sort of think about what you actually want to call it. And we all know once you've posted a project to NuGet, you can't change the name of it. So, you want to think about those things.
Good point.
The one thing that's worth explaining is in line 13, this prefer name directory. What that will do, if that's set to true, when we run it, it will create a folder with the name that we give it and then put everything inside that folder, which is what we want to happen. So we've saved this, so I think it's worth installing this template and giving it a go. So have you saved it? Step 1. Save.
Yeah, really that simple.
Yep. Now we're going to install it. So if you open a command prompt where the .templates.config folder was created, so that's, if we can look at Windows Explorer to remind me where we are, or actually I've just seen it there. Yeah, so if we go up one, it's, yeah, so we need to use the command prompt from this location, which is I think perhaps what you already had open in your terminal, isn't it?
I think so. Yep. That
doesn't.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, this is a fancy terminal. Is the bit in green telling you about your Git branch?
That's the branch, yeah.
Cover. Okay, so to install this locally and in the location where our .template.config folder is, you type .net space new space.
So will this create a new site here? Because obviously we've got.
No, we're not creating a site yet. We're installing this as a local template. So you know how, cool. In order to install Umbraco, the first thing you do is .net install, and then you do the namespace of the NuGet location of the templates. We're doing the equivalent, but we're saying install it in this location, because then whenever you make a change to your source here, it will just immediately take effect. So it's a very good way. So .net new install space /, and then you can /, not /. And then I'm going to ask you to press enter, and I'm going to cross my fingers, because if this works, we should see a confirmation that it has done something. So good. That's worked. That's nice. So basically, if it hadn't have found a folder called .template.config in that location, and if it hadn't have found a legal template.json file in that folder with a structure that it recognized, this would have fallen over. So
that's so cool.
So now I want you to actually go and use this. Now, what you're going to need is like a test folder location somewhere completely separate, where you're going to be creating quite a lot of, you're going to be running this template quite a few times, because I quite like us to just kind of do one bit at a time, rerun it, check it.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so we will call this test .NET templates.
Sure.
Template. Is that okay?
Yep. And then if you open a command prompt inside that folder.
Okay. If I can find it, I've lost it now. Did I make it inside one? Has it gone to the bottom?
No, it's about 6. It down 2 from where you are, I think.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. So we now have a command prompt.
Okay. So .NET new. DOTNET.
Oh, always do that.
I mean, I don't think the alias of .NET works. .NET new space. Now your short name was Bootstrap, so, and then space, and then -- name, because we're going to give it a name parameter. And then this is where space, and then I would do test1, because when I work on these things, I just keep pressing the up arrow and incrementing it and doing it again. Okay, so let's run that and see what happens.
Processing file.
Oh, no, that's not my fault. Okay, that's fine. It should have worked, but because we haven't yet told it to not copy the database file over, it's trying to copy the database file, and obviously you've got the site running. I think probably the easiest thing would be, can you kill?
I can kill the site.
I like how the fact I had to say it wasn't my fault.
And same again?
Yeah, so if you press the up arrow.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. Okay, so it obviously had actually done something. We should have checked that. It tried to get somewhere, but then it had failed. If you go inside the .NET template.
Empty the folder and start again.
Yeah, just inside the.
Or just quickly, the command at the bottom says you can use -- false, and it will just overwrite everything.
Oh yes, we could do
Depends.
that as well.
Just on
Start over is best.
I'd suggest at this point just delete the folder actually.
Yeah, delete the folder. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's third time's charm, I think they say.
It's thinking about it. It's made a folder. And actually, I was going to say, let's have a look what it's doing in there.
So that has done like
it's like magic, isn't it? It's amazing.
Although, I mean, literally, it's just basically done a Control-C, Control-V. So it's not quite magic yet, except what it hasn't done is copied a bin folder or an obj folder, or you'll notice that .template.config folder either. So it knows to not copy those over. But obviously, there's quite a bit of
good point
of other stuff that we need it to do. So like the first one is, you can see the CS proj is still called bootstrap.web.csproj, and were you to look at the program or the startup CS files, they would all have the namespace that you chose, which that we'd like to change. So if we go back to the template.json file, and we're going to be editing that a fair bit.
Okay.
After prefer name directory, if you put a comma and add a new parameter of the name source name in quotes.
Is what Copilot is suggesting.
Not right. We need that, but not yet.
Okay.
Thanks, Copilot, but not quite yet.
Okay.
So source name.
Source name. Yep.
And you've called it unbootstrap.web. So
in quotes.
In quotes, unbootstrap.web. I think.
And I don't know if it's upper or lowercase.
It's in both the initial, whatever you call it, where the first word of each is in capital letters. So W, capital W.
Capital W as well. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, if you save that, because we installed this template locally, if you now go back to your command prompt.
Yep.
And press up and change your 1 to a 2. We're now going to run, having added that parameter, it will just use that version of the template. So press return, and we're going to get another version created. And if we have a look in there now, see it's called test01, so test02.csproj. So what that source name parameter does is it says wherever it finds unbootstrap.web, whether it's in a file name, a folder name, or in code, it will have replaced it with the name that you gave it. So that's the first thing we wanted to do. The next thing I think we should do is, if we were to look settings.json, there is a GUID, which is the, I'm not quite sure how I refer to this, I'm sure someone will tell me, but the GUID that's used for telemetry on line 17. Now, if you were to get lots of people to use your starter kit and we didn't change this GUID, the telemetry stats would get a bit confused because there'd be lots. Yeah. So what we need is to tell the template that this is a GUID that needs to be replaced with a randomly generated new GUID. So if you could copy that GUID and go to template.json, we need to add a new parameter called GUIDs.
In here?
Yep.
Another line?
Yep, so comma where you are, return, and then in quotes, GUIDs. And yeah, in quotes, I don't think you need the curly braces. Maybe it would work without them, I'm not sure. But square brackets because it's an array, and then in quotes, the GUID that you've got in your clipboard.
Okay.
Is that the GUID that you had in your clipboard?
Let's.
And I don't. I've never used the curly braces, so I would get rid of the curly braces. I've not seen the curly braces being there. So you can put in here an array of any GUIDs, and as say, whenever it finds that GUID, it will remove it and replace it with a randomly generated new one. But of course, if this was in 5 places, it would replace them with the same. Those 5 places would have the same new GUID. You see what I mean? So that's the GUIDs. Then I think we can also do, let's do the port numbers. So this is copying, I'm going to copy it into the chat. This is using a similar logic that the Umbraco template uses. I've just noticed Lars Eric.
And where does that go?
So that that's another parameter at the same level as the other one. So a comma at the end of GUIDs, and then paste that in. So this, because these are the port numbers I stole from your, I took from the repo that you gave me access to. So at the moment, your repo uses, like if you look at line 23, your repo uses 36139 as one of the port numbers. And what we're saying is generate a new port number, and it will replace that number with the new one. And then I don't understand why we need a high and low field for the HTTPS ports, but I think this is what Umbraco does. So if Umbraco does, it's probably what we should do.
HTTPS is only available on a certain port range.
That would be logical. It doesn't seem like that big a number. It's only 99, and I'm sure most of us have more than 99.
I'm sure it should be bigger than that, but yeah.
Yeah, but at least that keeps it within the legal limit, I suppose. So when we next run it, that would then change in the, what's it called, the launch settings.json file. That would change.
Does that explain the 443 bit? As in, that's the port normally for HTTPS?
Paul Seals here said something clever.
Yeah, and I think Visual Studio uses those ranges automatically when you generate projects that you want to use HTTPS on them. Windows just accepts it as HTTPS.
Oh, that's really logical. Thank you.
Yeah, nice one.
Yeah. So that will mean then that each time you use your template, you will get a randomly generated port number or bit within this range. I think we should try running the template again because we've done 2 things at once there, which is, pretty exciting.
You didn't have to tell me this time, Lottie.
See, there we go. Right. So now we should have a GUID that doesn't start 0F2 in the app settings in number 3.
So let's get rid of that app settings and go to test 03 app settings. I've probably got this set to open in Visual Studio Code, but we were looking for
line 17 does not start 0F27. It started with something else. So that line 17, it's created a new GUID for us and put it there. And then if we check inside the properties folder, the launch settings file, we should have different port numbers. So the properties folder.
okay, launch settings. Yep.
Yeah, so we now have 44351, whereas we were 44395. Good. Okay, so that's done what it was meant to do there. Now, let's have a look at the Windows Explorer view of what it's created for us, because I think at this point, we shouldn't have that Umbraco folder, should we? Because what's inside that Umbraco folder? Yeah, I think all of that gets created by Umbraco during the install process. So I think we should exclude the whole of the Umbraco folder when we create the template. And we do that, and no one's interjected, so I'm assuming that they agree with me. So we can go back and change the template to tell it to exclude the whole of the Umbraco folder. And
Okay, what block does that go in?
so it's a new, this is the sources one that Copilot was trying to help you with earlier. I'm just going to copy in another bit here because that's in the voice chat. So that sources goes alongside. So after you finish the symbols, you need comma and then add in what I've pasted.
I think is there.
Yeah, I agree. I've pasted. If you go to the voice chat, I've given you the
I'll
whole.
grab your code. I'll grab your code. Expected comma after symbols.
Yeah.
Okay.
So here you could have a long list of exclude files, folders. You can also do file name or folder name replaces in this sources modifiers section as well. But I think at this point, all we need to do is exclude Umbraco. And then I think the only thing that would be remaining at this point would be to clear the connection string, because we are expecting people to do the Umbraco install themselves, aren't we?
Yeah, so I think every time we pull, at the moment, if you pull this from GitHub,
yeah,
you will be prompted to create a database, and then we're using uSync to bring in the content.
Yeah, but you have a connection string already configured in your app settings.json file because you have a SQLite database in the GitHub repo.
Yes.
Yeah. So if we can get the template to blank out the connection string, then when someone runs this, they will be.
Oh, I see what you mean. They'll be prompted to do a fresh Umbraco install.
They'll go through the install process. Now, I'm going to copy this like a Blue Peter. Here's one that I made earlier. So this is kind of, I don't know if there's a better way to do this, but in the Umbraco project template, they allow you to specify a connection string and the connection string provider as parameters when you're running the template, so you can do it all via the command line. Yep. I've used that, but set it to replace what your connection string is at the moment and your provider. So if you copy what I've put in the voice chat inside the symbols section.
Okay.
So
Yeah. So symbol section.
Yeah. So after your HTTPS port element is finished, put a comma and paste in what I've done here. So this will, if you look at line 41, that is the text of your connection string that you have in your repo at the moment. So if you were to go and change anything to do with that connection string, you'd need to update your template, because otherwise it wouldn't find this magic string to replace with the empty value. But this should work with yours. As say, I don't know if there's a smarter way to clear out an element, but this way works. So I think now, Dean, when you try number 4, it should work, hopefully. And now I think you should go into the test number 4 folder and do a .NET run and see if it all works. Because it got no Umbraco folder, that's good. We should probably check, should we just check the connection strings disappeared? That's probably worth doing. Because if that hasn't worked, it won't like us, because it'll...
Is that in app settings, Jason?
Yes, yes. Yeah, we have no connection string on line 29. Yeah. And it's defaulted to what Umbraco defaults it to. And again, they should know what they're doing. So I think we can try a .NET run.
Okay, this is very exciting. So I think I can just run it from here, can't I? Am I in the right place?
You need to go into, so cd test 04, you need to go into the folder and then...
And then...
press return. And then we're going to do .NET run.
That's it? Don't need to add anything else, do we? I think it's just .NET run.
It'll find the CS proj in that folder.
This is too exciting.
I mean, it is exciting if it works. I mean, it's exciting even if it doesn't work, because there are great minds here who'll help us fix why it doesn't work. But it's taking a while, which is good. I always think at this point, if it takes a while, that's a good sign.
Look at that.
That's a very good sign. Umbraco is in install mode, so uSync will not run this time. Thank you very much, uSync. So now let's open that in the browser, Dean.
Amazing.
We're all going to see your email address.
Whoop, whoop. And password.
Yeah, please don't write to me.
Yeah, you might want to use a fake password.
Especially since it's being recorded, right?
Yeah, but I could always put some obfuscation.
It's what admin@example.com is all about, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, we haven't got to do anything with the database. I don't think we want all the telemetry stuff, do we, for
That's
now?
up to you. I'd go with SQLite.
Please give us the telemetry.
Everyone happy?
He's testing a template output. Do you need that telemetry? I mean,
it's just shocking, really.
Because what we haven't really laboured the fact is uSync has done all the clever stuff for us in terms of schema and content here, because you have committed. Would you like to check the front end works as well, Dean?
I'm in a bit of shock at the moment.
Yeah.
This is...
But because you've got uSync set to ImportOnFirstBoot, Umbraco installed, uSync did the magic of creating all of the schema and then creating the content and the media.
When we first started discussing would this be viable months ago, I think Jason Elkin suggested that in the chat. I think I saw that the other day.
Which was why I thought, then yes, maybe .NET templates. So, I mean, of course,
that's ridiculous. How easy is that?
It turns out it worked. Woo!
You're fantastic, Lottie. Well done.
Wow.
Me and the team that wrote .NET templating. But yeah, and also the things that I did slightly laboriously, because I didn't just want to give you that whole template.json file working, because then it's too easy to not realize what all the elements are. But there are far more powerful things that you can do in that template JSON file. You can do post-build scripts. You can rename files. You can get users to specify parameters. So for perhaps you wanted to have, I have no idea what you might want to do for this, but you can allow users to specify more things when they actually do their .NET new Bootstrap.
I was having a read through this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's well done, Microsoft.
But the ones,
and then I guess the next bit, getting it up onto NuGet. But
yeah, which is, there's, the documentation is on that. You found the right wiki, and that's then sort of standard packaging up to NuGet. But as I say, you're going to want to have a play with it first to make sure you've thought about the name and the description and all of that.
Incredible.
But if you only
wanted
to keep this to yourself, then job done. And the nice thing about running this as a locally installed template is the moment you update your source now, your template called Bootstrap is pointing to that source. So you then run your .NET New Bootstrap and it will use the latest version. As and when you publish this to NuGet, you should first of all uninstall your local version and then install it from NuGet, because I think otherwise you might have a name conflict because you've got a local one and a NuGet one.
Sure.
But I think I've now just told you everything I know about .NET templates. I think.
Amazing.
And
Thank you so much.
That was 42 minutes. I mean, I think if we were going to push it to NuGet, we'd make it till 1:30, but I don't think we need to, as I say, I don't think
we can save it for another day. I've got lots of work I want to do on this and tidying up code behind the scenes, really, before people start messing around with it. But ideally, going back to the beginning of the conversation, what is this for? You could, if you wanted to, run it and start building a website using this as a starting point. If you are new to Umbraco, I think this would be a fantastic way to learn about Umbraco without having to worry about front end stuff, because it's all kind of done for you. And 90% of what is done for you, honestly, is really all done through the new grid editor. I mean, it's a simple, I've just created 3 layouts and a bunch of features that go in those layouts, and this is the part that I think is just quite amazing. I've done a terrible hack here by putting all of the Bootstrap classes into the areas, because unfortunately it's not responsive. It's only designed to work at one size on a desktop. So I've cheated and put them all in the areas, but I'm hoping going forward we will be able to click a button and go add a breakpoint, and do different layouts at different breakpoints. But for now, you can build a site in an hour.
I really like this for starter kits. I have to say, it feels much cleaner, because now no matter what I do to this, I don't worry about the fact that it came from your starting position. It's now just me, and there's no reason to have to know that it came from that. The one thing I was wondering about is if you were to create a new page now, uSync is still persisting content to config files.
Yeah, we can look at that.
So which I get a bit confused as to whether that's the right thing to do or not on an actual site, because maybe, do you think you should switch off the content handler in the site that you're creating, the content and the media handler?
It's only a test site, isn't it? I mean, I'm not sure.
I think you have it off. You have it on by default, don't you? But if you're using uSync complete and things, you don't want it on, do you?
Because, so if I were to publish this now, I wouldn't. It's tricky, isn't it? Because like the first time, I'd want to probably no, because I'd be pushing the database, so I wouldn't want to publish the content folder of uSync up to my destination, my production site, and I wouldn't want. I don't feel very comfortable having content folders committed to GitHub, my Git repo, because I don't feel content belongs in there. I know they have.
You do like a flag in your template JSON file. Can you do like a flag to turn something on and off, and then do variables in your?
Yeah, I think that might be something something to think about. I don't know. The thing is, I've not used uSync FirstBoot stuff, so I'm very used to having uSync schema files that live in the repo, and that makes sense. But for the content and media, I get a bit nervous when I see those hanging around, because if someone were to copy those up and then accidentally import on production, I don't know what would happen. So that's just one thing that might need to think about, because if, for example, you did think, you know what, we'd want to switch the content and media handler off for uSync in the version of the site that gets created, then that would be something you'd add to the app.settings.json file, and then you could use the templates to change the handler, because you want it on, Dean, in your source, obviously, because you're creating the content that you want people to have to start with. But it might be worth thinking that to switch that handler off in the sites that you create. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there, really.
You could have it in your development JSON, couldn't you, to turn it off? Or on the app settings with it off, and then with your development JSON have it on.
Yeah.
The thing is, yeah, I have run into a few thought-provoking issues quite often when creating any kind of starter kit or example site or whatever you want to call it, that they're aimed at different audiences. So I'm going to be honest, obviously this is created to work with the local database and the media stored locally as well, which most of us probably don't work that way, and our media's in blob storage and we use a remote database. In fact, I literally spent this morning deleting some old databases from Azure deployment slots. You know, I keep them for a couple of weeks because I'm so nervous when we do an Umbraco upgrade and things like that. So if it's aimed at people new to Umbraco, should it even have uSync installed, for example? Should it have any packages installed? At the moment, it's got Aaron's lovely nav, for example. Would it be better to keep it clean and simple? Should we be telling people to use local databases and local media as well? I don't know.
Well, welcome to why starter kits are tricky things. Because this is when you just have to start having opinions, Dean, and taking.
I just think it depends who it's aimed at.
Yeah. So I mean, my thought would be for you to decide who it's aimed at, and just to make it really clear in the README. So if you know, for example, that you do want uSync to be there, because you need uSync to be there, because otherwise we can't get the content and the schema installed. So, you know, maybe explaining that there's a package, it has a package called uSync that, I mean, people then, when they make changes, they will, if they're using Git, they're going to start seeing changes in uSync files, and they might wonder what they are. So, but I mean, I do think that I think just explaining the decisions you've made is the way around. You're
My
never going
intention
to please
originally
everyone.
was that each of the components is a bootstrap component in essence, is just an example. So I'd like a slideshow in my site. You can just go and grab one out of, run this, grab the slideshow, stick it in your own website, and it will take 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I need a navigation block. I need a grid of showing the children of this section. And they're all just a couple of document types or element types and maybe a view. And that's all you need and you can copy and paste it into your own website in minutes. So that's kind of what I imagined it to be to start with. But I definitely can imagine people going, "Oh, this is great. I've got a website," and then start working immediately in this site. So yeah, I can see a very long and complex Git book coming out of this, but I'm sure I'll get lots of help from the community.
My recommendation would be to decide what your first release is going to be and keep that as simple as possible and as soon as possible, because then you never know.
I'm going to be honest, I think initially the audience would be experienced Umbraco developers who want to find out more about Umbraco Grid. That would be where I'm aiming, because to me, block list and block grid are everything that I need as a front ender in a content management system. I can quite literally create any common layout and any common feature from those two bits of functionality in Umbraco. And I think they've done a fantastic job with block grid. And of course, there's ever such a lot on the roadmap going to be added, reusable blocks and that kind of thing. So because there's a clear direction now, that's why I was happy to put a bit of time into it, because I think it's only going to improve. So we're going to, in theory, we're going to have reusable blocks, publish dates on blocks. The copy and pasting is already amazing. I mean, if you went into, I don't know, a block like this and I wanted to copy that and pop the whole thing into the, I don't know, page 4, has that got anything in it? Save and publish, go to the site, example section, page 4. It's incredible. It's incredible. I can't see any editor having too much trouble learning how to use that. I think very busy editors that have to create, 20, 40 pages a day in a busy website, they're gonna absolutely love this. And if you combine that with the layouts as well. But yeah, going back to what you were saying, I think we need to evolve it within the experienced community initially, and then let a few people who are new to Umbraco give it a try.
Yeah,
I think that would be the way to go.
I think that's a very, very good idea, and you never know. Hopefully soon it might be discoverable on the marketplace, but I make no promises because Andy's on.
So your suggestion is don't push it up to NuGet yet. Just keep.
No,
working on
the only reason why I was saying don't push it to
the
NuGet
naming
was just have a think about what name you want to use and how you describe it, and use and basically all I would be doing would be opening up that wiki page and talking you through what's on that wiki page. So you're going to need a logo, aren't you? Don't you need a sexy logo to go on NuGet?
So I have got a question actually. It's a kind of a technical question. My intention is to, once we've got this to a stage that we like it, is to then do a Tailwind version, because it'll work the same way. There's a lot of stuff I haven't shown you under the hood, how the areas grab the, I mean, this is this kind of thing here. So, just grabbing the names of the areas, the number of columns, that kind of thing. That was all done by the amazing block grid team. in such a way that it'll work with anything. So it would not be a great deal of work once we got something working to change all of the Bootstrap utility classes to Tailwind utility classes. And also, I'm already using it with my own personal framework as well. So the question is, at that point, would the ideal thing be to put the Tailwind project in the same solution? And how does that then work if you want to make that into a .NET template? Because of course it's Bootstrap, and there'd be an Tailwind as well, and an vanilla CSS, I suppose.
I guess there'd be different NuGet packages.
Well, there'd be .NET templates. So what I'm saying is, should we put the Tailwind one and the Bootstrap one and the vanilla CSS one, 3 separate projects, all in the same, in our project that we're working on? But can you then make each of those projects individually output to a .NET template, or should we make 3 separate solutions? So should they be 3 projects in a solution or separate solutions, I guess is the question. You don't have to answer that today, Lottie.
I would just say it's just completely up to you. Or when you've got your head more around how .NET templates work, you can have you can have a source folder and then subfolders, and then each one can have its own template.config folder underneath it, and then they're all in one solution. But you're probably going to need to rejig your actual source code to make space for that. But the opinionated package starter kit that I have, the template is created about 3 folders down, because there's a lot of other stuff around it that doesn't belong in the template. So it's kind of just realizing that where you put that template.config folder, that's what says here is the template, here and beneath here is the template, and you can have many of those. If you look at the Umbraco source code, they have a folder called templates, and then they have a folder called Umbraco products, one called Umbraco package, one called Umbraco package RC, I think now, for the Razor class library version. So they have all of those in sort of alongside each other, and then under there is each template. So I mean, the way that we built this one, because the template is inside that folder, isn't it? Where did we end up creating the .template.config? It was inside, wasn't it? Yeah. So you could have tailwind.web.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. Yeah. That's what I was hoping. That's what I was hoping, I should say. Because if we keep it all in one solution, there may be some things that are common to all 3. It'll be a lot easier working out of one.
Yeah.
One solution as well.
I'm no expert on the NuGet packaging side of things, so whether that file structure would make it harder to generate 3 separate NuGet packages, or whether all 3 templates go into one NuGet package.
I was waiting to see what Warren was writing, their personal preference, if he was going to say separate solutions or separate projects.
Different strokes for different folks. It doesn't really matter.
I think from a maintenance point of view, ideally, they'd all be in one solution. But that might...
your own question then.
Well, but that's from my perspective working on it. There might be a lot of barriers generated by working that way, but I'm just thinking about, you create a view in one and then just literally copy and paste it into the other and change the class names, that kind of thing. Further down the line, there's so much to do on it as it is. I probably shouldn't worry about that now.
It looks great, Dean, and I can see that would be a great thing for people. I, for example, could do with learning about this stuff, so now I know where to go when I want to. I'll wait till it's on NuGet, though, of course.
To be quite honest, I'd be more than happy to do an hour looking at block grid and how it interacts with the pages, because it's taken me probably 2 months to understand what default items, areas, and area actually do. It's a little bit more complex than you might think at first, especially when you start nesting
Yeah, I'm sure.
area, grids inside areas, inside grids, inside areas, and yeah, it does get a bit complex, but it is quite amazing, and there's lots of flexibility there.
Good.
That's what I love about it. Yeah, build the way you want.
Excellent. I look forward to seeing what else you get up to. And hooray for finishing on time.
Ooh. Wait, we have sound effects now.
You do?
Does that work?
Down with the kids, Seb.
That's the one.
Did you record that as you canoed over the finish line, Seb?
Look at Matt, he's found a button as well.
Well, thank you, everyone. I'm going to press stop now.